Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 392.
Now you know. Thank you to Beam for sponsoring this episode.
Beam's Dream is a luxurious drink filled with the highest quality sleep-promoting ingredients.
It helps me fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer, and that helps me feel better and have more energy throughout my day.
It can be hard to develop a nighttime routine, and centering mine around having a tasty, warm Beam drink helps me look forward to going to bed. And also, once I drink Beam, I know that I'll be asleep within about 40 minutes, and that helps me go to sleep earlier.
Yeah, Dream is really easy to incorporate into your nighttime routine because it tastes delicious. There are several flavors, but I think my favorite is the original. It tastes like a delicious cup of healthy hot cocoa.
Put at least 1 scoop of powder into a mug of hot water or milk and blend using your Beam frother. Sip 30 to 45 minutes before bedtime.
Dream has no added sugar. It's only 15 calories. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, non-GMO, and keto-friendly.
The natural sleep ingredients support you through each stage of sleep. Ingredients like reishi and melatonin can help improve the quality of your REM sleep.
Dream powders come in a range of customizations from different ingredient stacks to stronger potencies to a variety of flavors, making the experience of sleep easier, healthier, and more enjoyable.
Plus, Beam's Dream is clinically shown to improve sleep. Click the link below or scan the QR code and use the code NOWYOUKNOW to get up to 35% off.
Thanks to Beam for sponsoring this episode. So last Tuesday, a left-wing extremist group called Vulcan Group claimed responsibility for an act of arson to a high power line near GigaBerlin.
The power disruption started at 5 a.m. and Tesla had to evacuate workers from the Gigafactory while firefighters tried to put out the fires, which had started in an open field close to the power pole.
The firefighters had to stop, though, when they spotted a nearby tent with a sign on it saying that explosives had been planted in the vicinity. And so the bomb disposal teams had to be called in first.
The resulting power loss not only affected GigaBerlin, but also the nearby town of Erkner, along with parts of Berlin itself.
The eco-terrorists sent a letter to the German media stating, "Together we are bringing Tesla to its knees. Switch off for Tesla. Greetings to everyone on the run, in the underground, in prisons, and in the resistance. Love and strength to all Antifa."
Brandenburg's Prime Minister Dietmar Woelke, a social democrat, said attacks on our critical infrastructure are a form of terrorism.
Elon posted, "These are either the dumbest eco-terrorists on Earth or they're puppets of those who don't have good environmental goals. Stopping production of electric vehicles rather than fossil fuel vehicles is extreme dumb."
And Krimiu says the environmental movement in Germany seems to really hate the environment.
Elon says they are bat crazy. So according to a Tesla spokesperson after the attack, it looked like the earliest that GigaBerlin could be back up and running would be March 17th. That means that production would have been shuttered for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's about 11,000 Model Ys worth.
So we're talking like a loss of around $600 million if that's true.
And this group is doing this, why?
Yeah, I mean, as Rohan Patel, Tesla's VP of Public Policy and Business Development, posted in response, he said, "Our GigaBerlin Brandenburg team sent me a long list of public facts, so I thought I'd share a few of them with you. The entire point of Tesla is to create innovative zero-emissions products and accelerate sustainable energy and transport. But in order to do that well, we also focus on creating the most sustainable factories, along with a culture to do the right thing in our community." And so this is a list here, and I'm not going to make you read them all, but I thought I'd highlight just a few that stood out to me. They've reforested Gigafactory Berlin's current site even faster than construction. About 300 hectares of high-quality forest, over 60% of hardwoods have been planted. In the nearby area, the team has helped ecologically improve 340 hectares of existing forest through underplanting hardwood, making Grundheim, Spreenhagen, and Gossenau-Zittau forests more diverse and therefore more resilient. Our shuttle train has a daily passenger volume of over 3,000 and is free of charge. More than 12,000 people work at Gigafactory. 1,500 of them were unemployed, and another 700 were long-term unemployed. And we partner with 13 different schools, and we're the biggest apprenticeship employer in Brandenburg.
Like Elon said, if this is indeed a group that cares about the environment, they're not understanding that Tesla is not an enemy of the environment.
Yeah, the forest that this Gigafactory was built on was a tree farm. Okay, it was planted for the production of cardboard. It didn't act like a real old growth forest because it wasn't old growth. It was a monoculture. One species of tree planted in rows for regular harvesting.
So what is the German government going to do about this?
Well, Brandenburg's economy minister, Jörg Steinbach, posted on X, "I strongly condemn the arson attack on Tesla's power supply. This is an escalation that cannot be tolerated in any way, and that people, employees, and companies in the region are suffering from, thanks to the professional handling at Tesla." And Brandenburg's Prime Minister, Dietmar Woelke, said, "It was clearly a serious attack on our critical infrastructure with consequences for thousands of people, as well as many small and large companies in our state."
So basically nothing?
Well, Brandenburg Interior Minister Michael Stubjan said today thousands of people were deliberately cut off from essential services and put in danger. This will have consequences. When it comes to terrorism, there is no mercy. This also applies to eco-terrorism. The rule of law will react harshly. And Federal Home Affairs Minister Nancy Faeser said, an attack like this on our electricity infrastructure is a serious crime that cannot be justified in any way. Violence and sabotage should not be used as a means of confrontation.
I mean, the group that did this are hanging out in the nearby forest, and nobody's even been arrested. And GigaBerlin already had to be forced to shut down for a couple weeks due to supply chain issues because cargo ships had to go around Africa.
The good news is that as of last Friday, the power had been restored to GigaBerlin, and the factory will hopefully be restarting this week. So it was only shut down for a little over a week.
And Tesla Manufacturing says lights on.
And Elon said Tesla is hardcore.
And to wrap this up, a lot of the fuss over GigaBerlin has been over water. Opponents claim that Tesla would be using too much groundwater.
GigaBerlin was permitted to use 1.3 million cubic meters per year for its operations. Do you know how much it actually used in all of 2023?
No.
451,654 cubic meters, or about a third of what it was permitted to use. GigaBerlin uses 2.28 cubic meters of water per vehicle it makes. That's 33% less than the industry standard of 3.6 cubic meters.
And as Teslarati pointed out this week, Tesla produces 6,000 vehicles per week and uses half as much water as a nearby asparagus farm that uses 1 million cubic meters of water per year.
And the latest just in from GigaBerlin plant manager Andre Thierig, he said, this means economic damage for us in the high 9-figure range.
9. Yeah, 9 figures is hundreds of millions of dollars in damages.
I mean, I wonder if the Vulcan Group has that in their bank account. Okay, everyone, we need to do a fundraiser to pay for the damages we caused last week. Frank, I told you, your idea was not a very good one. Hey, and if you want to support the work we do in the show, please hit the like button. It helps YouTube do whatever it does and sends it off to other people. The R2. The R2! Everybody's talking about the R2 this week. No, not that R2. I'm talking about the Rivian R2 SUV that Rivian unveiled at their Irvine, California headquarters last Thursday. Our buddy Howard was there and got us some exclusive photos from the event.
So this looks a lot like the R1S.
Yes, it does. It's smaller. Only seats 5 versus the R1S, which seats up to 8. But pretty impressive stats. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, up to 300 plus miles of range. Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe said that it will start at $45,000 when it starts deliveries in the first half of 2026.
So that 2 years from now?
Yeah. And this is kind of Rivian's Model 3 moment. If you remember back in March of 2016, the Model 3 was unveiled. And this week on Disruptive Investing, we're going to talk about the R2 a lot. So please join us over there. But going back to the Model 3 moment, you may remember that Tesla so far had only made 3 very pricey models up until that point.
Right. The first gen Roadster, the Model S, and then the Model X.
Right. The Model 3 was going to be Tesla's entrance into the mainstream car market with a hopeful starting price of $35,000.
We got one of the first Model 3s in December of 2017 and shared a ton of videos about it with you here on Now You Know.
But it was a super hard challenge for Tesla to not only ramp up production into the thousands per week at the Fremont factory, but also keep the quality high and the costs low. Now Rivian is in a similar spot. Rivian needs to make EVs that the average person can afford, so they're pricing the R2 at $45,000, which is the median car price in America, according to Kelley Blue Book.
But at the moment, isn't Rivian losing like $43,000 per vehicle they sell?
Yep, and that's the challenge. They have to expand their Normal, Illinois factory and get their production costs way down in order to start making a profit. The R2 is their Model 3.
Okay, so I get the R2 now, but then what's this? I saw this on their website.
That is the R3 and the R3X, small crossover EV that they also unveiled. Rivian says, we designed the R3X for maximum performance, capability, and fun. Deliveries will begin after the R2.
And what's that going to be priced at?
It appears to be starting at $37,000 and tops out at $47,000. And Howard got some pictures of that as well.
Nice.
And as Elon pointed out, Rivian only has about 6 more quarters of runway before they run out of money.
But if the R2 doesn't come out, what is that, 8 quarters from now?
Yeah, these are the big questions. Number 1, can Rivian stay afloat until the R2 starts deliveries? Number 2, can Rivian even start deliveries in that short a time span, since they also have to be building the factory that makes it? Number 3, can Rivian make a profit on the R2 if it's only supposed to cost $45,000? Like you said, they're losing $43,000 on each $80,000 plus vehicle that they're selling today. So how could they get their cost down that much? I mean, the R2 is about 16 inches less in length, 2 inches narrower, and 5 inches shorter than the R1S. But even with a slightly slightly smaller battery pack, which I assume it'll have, and less powerful motors, let's say, does that really get Rivian's input costs down enough to get to profitability?
We have a Patreon poll this week, so we'll see later in the show what our patrons think.
And they usually end up being right, so that'll be interesting. And if you thought the R2 was exciting, just wait until you check out the accessories that have been planned. Look at this, Jesse. They have a camp kitchen and a tent and a bike holder. Maybe they're going to start making e-bikes soon. And there's a storage thing, and some people say that. Some people say it.
No! This fake delays! It's canceled. Never gonna come out.
Whoa, Jesse, what's wrong?
It's fake. There's no way they're gonna pull this again. Ugh.
Wow.
We never, listen. We never got our gear shuttle. We never got our camp kitchen. We never got our tank turn. We had to go buy the exact same tent for cheaper because Rivian delayed their tent. No, I'm not falling for this again.
Okay, but Jesse, surely they wouldn't do this twice. I mean, I bet this time they really mean it.
Oh, yeah. They didn't take care of the people who paid $90,000 for their trucks. I'm sure that the people who paid half for their trucks are going to get their stuff.
Sure, Jan.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised when I saw the pictures that came in from Howard, and I'm like, wait, that's a tent on the vehicle, but they never came out with the tent. And hey, that looks like a camp kitchen, and we never got our camp kitchen. No, it seems like they're going to do a lot of promising, and that's fine if you in the media were going to hold Rivian's feet to the fire like you did with Tesla and all the things that you said were broken promises, except that they weren't because they eventually all happened. Rivian just got to ignore all the things they promised.
And here's the problem, right? People who bought the R1T and the R1S are few in number. Right? And they're rich people, so screw them, right? Now, we bought ours to hopefully show you what owning a Rivian would be like, and we were very excited about the camp kitchen and stuff like that. And we built a very crappy camp kitchen because we
like
thought
$20.
We thought it was just weeks away that we were going to get the nice one. So we didn't like go out and try and do anything, but we didn't get our gear shuttle, which is literally just like a drawer slide and a couple pieces of metal and plastic.
You know what else is funny is remember in the beginning when we were getting the delivery, we had this Rivian, what was she called? Our adventure guide?
Adventure guide.
And she would talk to us like every week.
Yes.
And very pleasant. And then she disappeared.
Yes.
And then they replaced her. And then I've never heard from an adventure guide again.
Right. Because we don't have an adventure guide anymore.
Because
when we call up Rivian, we do end up talking to a person, but they are never able to help us. Look, I definitely want to come up with a Rivian update video. I've been driving the truck around as a bit of research for a couple months now, trying to get deep into all of the different intricacies of the truck and all of the minor annoyances that are part of that. But yeah, this to me, having Rivian come out and be like, we have a camp kitchen. It's like, well, you had a camp kitchen, but then you didn't give it to the people who really wanted it.
Here's the thing. They just dusted this off because the R2 is actually designed before the R1S. So this has been in the works for a while. And don't think that the R2 is going to have any new technology in it, especially since it was probably designed years ago.
I don't know. It's really scummy to me that they would come out with camp kitchens and stuff like that and not be calling us up. And not just us because we're fancy YouTubers, but everyone who ordered a camp kitchen, everyone who ordered a tent and a gear shuttle.
And we were going to pay $6,000 or something for it. Like it was a moneymaker for Rivian.
Well, and also don't forget about tank turn. I know that they were like, well, we did that because people would rip up the trails. Well, you said it was going to come on the truck. That's why people bought it.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I've just been getting a really bad vibe from Rivian for the past... before we even picked up the truck. We'll talk more about it, I think, on disruptive investing. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to be putting together a video of kind of all the stuff that's wrong and right with the Rivian.
I hope it has a blood pressure meter.
Yeah. So Mate Rimac took to Facebook the other day, and he had this to say about the next generation Tesla Roadster doing 0 to 60 in under 1 second. He said, it's possible with thrusters. We did the simulation. The problem is that you release the air in 2 to 3 seconds, and then you have a lot of dead weight that you're carrying around. Tanks, compressors, valves, nozzles, etc. Same with fans. They just give you more grip, but you need something like 30,000 Newton meters on the wheels to accelerate below 1 second, 0 to 60, which means that you need massive motors, inverters, gearboxes, drive shafts, etc. Plus, the car has to be super light, as otherwise you can't create a lot of excess downforce with the fans, as the tires would be overloaded very fast with any kind of car with normal supercar weight, especially electric. And then again, you're carrying the weight with you when you're not doing 0 to 60, so thrusters are really the only way to go, but it brings a lot of downsides as well.
So he spent a lot of time talking about fans. What is he talking about?
Well, if you want to break the 0 to 60 in 1.9-ish seconds problem, your enemy is tire grip. Basically, in a normal car, you have 4 tires on the ground, and hopefully all of those tires are going to help pull you forward. The problem comes down to some pretty basic physics. In order to move your car forward, those tires need to be stuck to the ground. Oddly enough, you can be going 200 miles an hour, and the part of the tire that is on the ground at any one point in time is going to be going 0 miles an hour. And you lose grip when you impart enough force on the tire to break the oppositional friction force, which is very simply the coefficient of friction multiplied by the normal force, which is usually the car being pulled down by gravity. Now, the interaction of rubber and road usually has a great coefficient of friction, usually. And you can make the road surface more gummy to help. You'll sometimes see this at a drag strip. If you can't make the coefficient of friction stronger, then you'll have to do something to increase the normal force. This is harder to do because you either have to add weight, which doesn't help you at all because now you have to also accelerate that weight, or you have to somehow add some sort of downforce. You'll see Formula One cars do this with their massive wings, pushing the car into the ground, and it helps tremendously with cornering, acceleration, and braking, but it only works when the car is moving fast and generating that downforce with the big wing. So what you'd like to have is something sucking the car to the road even when you're not moving. And you can do that with a massive fan. The Brabham BT46B did this to great effect and got banned from F1 in 1978.
Or you could ignore all this dumb friction stuff and just add cold air thrusters.
Exactly. A rocket doesn't care about your tire friction.
All right, so it sounds like all Rimac's talk of fans is moot. I mean, we pretty much know that Tesla is going to use cold air thrusters.
Right. And also his point about 2 to 3 seconds of thrust is kind of downplaying that each second should be giving you around 3 Gs of acceleration. So if it ended up being 4 seconds...
That's a heck of a lot faster.
Right. I also want to point out that the thrusters could be used for braking and turning, allowing for extremely good performance around a track.
Or allowing the car to hover.
Yeah, we'll see.
So why was Rimac so negative about the Roadster?
I think that if you were to own a company like Bugatti and Rimac, who sell hypercars, like cars that everybody wants because they're so fast, you'd be pretty annoyed.
Well, especially if you're selling your cars for in the millions and Elon's going to sell his for $250,000.
Yeah, that's tough. If the lemonade stand across the street opens up and instead of selling it for a quarter, they're selling it for a nickel, and their lemonade is way better.
I feel like this was giving talking points to the owners of Bugattis and Rimacs to be like, no, you see, he will not be able to do it.
Now listen, look, you're carrying around all that dead weight. I mean, so what? Can go 0 to 60 in 1 second. I mean,
it's not like Elon runs a freaking rocket company or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still have respect for Rimac, but, and everything that he says is technically correct. I just think that if they make the tank a little bit bigger, the pump's a little bit stronger, it's possible that you could recharge in a...
It just makes it more exciting for when the car comes out.
Senior account manager Clement Maguey at Tesla just posted this on LinkedIn.
Whoa, is that some kind of Tesla delivery van?
Yes, but it's also a Model Y.
What?
It's basically a Model Y without any back seats and a huge volume for stuff in the back. So 2,158 liters to be precise, or over 72 cubic feet or 570 gallons in imperial units.
in Freedom units, that's enough to fit 20 Yeti coolers, and those would hold over 1,000 cans of beer.
Wouldn't that be cool if beer was the new way to count volume in cars? All right, well, that's great. When can I get one?
Oh, well, it's only being sold in France.
Oui, oui! Over 2,000 bottles of wine, 1,500 Louis de Brie, or nearly 1,700 baguettes.
Why only France?
Well, they have incentives for it. Having an EV commercial van for your company allows you to deduct the company vehicle tax.
And it looks like it also has a better range.
Yeah, 30 more kilometers, up to 351 miles. That's over 5,000 football fields.
Okay, but I don't understand. Is this just a Model Y? Or is this, is there some added stuff to it? Does it look like a van? This is the only picture I have.
It is a Model Y.
Okay.
And all they did was remove the back seats, basically make the whole thing flat. I think they may have lowered the floor just a little bit. I think you still get some under storage, and I think there's even more storage by the seats. But again, this is the only picture that we have. I think that basically Tesla figured out, hey, if we could sell the Model Y in France without any rear seats, so there's 2 seats in the front, this turns it into a delivery van. I think that there is enough space.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for most like contractors and delivery people, that's plenty of space.
It's plenty of range. You have the Supercharger network.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're going to get a tax break from France.
What I think a lot of people don't know is like this is only 2 or 3 inches shorter than the Model X. Like it's still a relatively big car.
Right. And as we'll see this week, you can fit a lot of stuff in there.
If you see someone with 1,700 baguettes in a Model Y, please send us a picture.
Wee wee!
All right, it's time for the Cybertruck Roundup.
Yeehaw! The Cybertruck Roundup.
How about Cyber Valet? Or don't. Yeah, Elon said Cyber Beast is faster than a Porsche 911, but looks like a truck, so perhaps the Valet wasn't expecting so much acceleration?
Now, Teslas usually have valet mode for this very reason. Do you think they forgot to put it in? Or
Maybe.
Does
yeah.
the Cybertruck not have it?
I don't know. Can you imagine coming out from the Beverly Hills Hotel and be like, my truck, mine's the one over there in the fountain. So, of course, there's lots of shooting and burning going on with Cybertrucks. Jerry Rig Everything tried burning his Cybertruck.
And Jack Rosenbauer shot his Cybertruck with what he calls as an assault rifle, even though it was shooting a 9mm Luger. So, more of a submachine gun, but still bulletproof to the 9mm, as we know.
Yeah. But if someone comes and tries to attack you with a bat, let's see what happens.
Damn, that thing's tough as fuck. Right? Makes your hands hurt. Oh my god. You gotta try that. Dude, this bat. Oh shit. Jake, go for it, dude.
Come on, Jake, let's see what you got.
Now, I know that it looks a little dented. Most of that, I think, is the paint from the bat rubbing off onto the car.
Right. And I just want to stress here, look at the bat. Like, they weren't going like, tap, tap. They
Right.
were frickin' hauling it on that truck and repeatedly. Unbelievable. I had no idea it was going to hold up that well.
Yeah.
And Elon tweeted out Cybertruck on Hoth. And I just want to take a moment here. Elon, if you'd like to see your truck in cold weather, you could send us ours. We are, number 20 on the list, but we haven't gotten our truck yet.
Yeah. And it's, 50 degrees outside.
We'll drive it somewhere cold. And Elon reposted this from the Cybertruck channel saying, Climbing Hell's Revenge. And he reposted this one, Hot Tub Climb Machine. And if you want to see all of this and more, head on over to the Cybertruck Owners Club. They sponsor the show, and they've got so much great Cybertruck content, especially now that Cybertrucks are out. It's no longer just conjecture, right? Also, you're going to get their list, so you can find out when the deliveries are going to take place, where they're taking place, update yours so you can find out where you are in line. Really important stuff. So the weather's starting to get nicer around here, and many of us are itching to get back outside.
Over on our Now Let's Review channel, we just reviewed the WowGo 3E electric longboard. Electric longboards are super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think many people don't even know that they exist. I mean, if we didn't have a YouTube channel where we review electric mobility products, I don't think I would have known. As a kid, I rode a skateboard, and as I got older, I kind of thought, well, those days are over.
Yeah, as a kid, you have limitless energy, and then
you get older.
But wait, go check out our review of the WowGo 3E on NLR and see if it might be just what you were looking for.
Even though you weren't looking for it, and you didn't even know it was a thing.
E-longboards have motors and a battery and a handheld controller, so you don't have to kick to propel yourself.
It's like a mini electric car.
And you don't have to drag your foot on the ground to stop.
It has e-brakes. It really is fun.
And although the 3E can go up to 28 miles an hour,
you don't have to go 28 miles an hour. I usually max out around 10 miles an hour just to keep it feeling safe.
And I think a lot of you aren't going to believe the price tag. You're going to want to go check out that review over on our Now Let's Review channel.
So as we reported last week, Ford has now been allowed to use the Tesla supercharging network.
Yeah, about that. There's a bit of a problem. Ford put their charging port in the weirdest spot on their cars. And that means that neither the Lightning nor the Mustang is going to be able to pull in and use the superchargers properly.
Well, that's not a problem. They can just use an extension cord.
No, don't listen to him. Do not use an extension cord.
No, not a regular extension cord, a special Tesla supercharger extension cord.
What?
Yeah, apparently Tesla is working on a NACS-to-NACS extension cable, which should be available for purchase in the future.
Well, that sounds good, but Why can't all these other car brands standardize on charging location?
Well, who's to say Tesla isn't the one with the weirdest placement?
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty logical to choose the rear corner.
Why is that?
I mean, every car in the world basically has their gas port right in the rear corner of the car, either the right or the left. I mean, so much so that people confuse the Tesla for a gas car. It sort of makes sense that you'd standardize on something that's already been standardized. And it's not like, oh, well, this is such a bad idea because it's stupid. I would argue putting the charge port on the side of the car in the middle is the stupid idea, because then you're not close to anything when you pull in to park, and it gets in the way, and then people's doors are going to hit it. Right now, if you go to a supercharger station, you almost don't see the cables because you pull right back in and the cord is nice and short. I remember the first time we went supercharging, we didn't pull back far enough because we were like afraid to hit something. It's the most expensive car you'd ever owned. And we had to pull back even further because you actually have to be close to the thing. And that means that the charging cables can be shorter and everything like that. So
Yeah, because on the Ford, when the door opens up, the charging port door, it sticks out like almost a foot from the car. Like it's so much leverage that if someone catches on it, it'll break.
And I mean, I know that they had to basically plan for the CCS thing. And so with Electrify America chargers, they have these super duper long, super heavy cables.
You know what else is dumb on the Ford? Because they have identical looking charge port covers, I often think that that's the side I have to charge on, and then I'm like, why won't the door open? Because it's not a door.
So many times.
Well, luckily, Tesla says that the version 4 superchargers with longer cables should solve this problem.
Okay, but there aren't that many of them. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if we're going to run into trouble with Ford owners blocking like 4 or 5 stalls with their Lightnings.
And also, I mean, with these extension cords, I mean, is it going to be for you to keep in your trunk, or do you keep them at the supercharger in a locker somewhere?
I guess it's for people to keep in their frunk for the convenience of other people, because that usually works.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
So I've got an EV tip for you. In fact, it's something that is useful for just about every form of transportation.
What could be useful for every form of transportation?
This is the Fantik X8 Apex battery-powered tire inflator.
Oh, yeah. We reviewed a couple of tire inflators before, but they're usually just for bikes. But you said this is for every form of transportation?
Yeah, this Fantik X8, I asked for it specifically because so far we have not found a battery-powered tire inflator that can handle this.
That's right. We tried other units, but they couldn't pass the Rivian off-road tire test.
But as you can see here, the Fantik X8 handled it with no problem. And on a personal note, the reason I asked them to send us one, and thank you to Fantik, by the way, for helping sponsor today's show, is that I've been wanting to get a battery-powered tire inflator for my mom and dad, but as you said, none of the ones that we tried before worked on anything bigger than an e-bike tire. And while e-bike tires are great, and the Fantik handles those with ease, it's so comforting to have one of these in your car.
I was in my buddy's Tesla Model S Plaid, you know who you are, and he had to keep stopping at gas stations to fill up his tire because he had a slow leak.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, with Fantik, you can fill up your tires at the supercharger.
Maximize your range.
That's a good point. You know how when the weather gets colder and your tire pressure goes down, you're like, oh, I'll do that next week. And then the winter's over and you're like, I never pumped up my tires. So I was losing range and tire tread all winter.
That's a good point. I forgot that you're not only losing range, but you're also spending way more money on tires when that happens.
But you said that this was good for all types of transportation.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stick to that. I mean, you can use the Fantik X8 on e-bikes, e-scooters, mopeds, motorcycles, cars, trucks, and even airplanes. I guess the pilot could get out and check the tire pressure, which maybe they should do more often now. And, you know, there's even rubber tires on the Paris Metro. So trains.
There's a bunch of features that I love about the Fantik. It's super easy to use with a nice long air hose, so you can set the tire pressure and walk away.
And there's this really nice bright light here, which makes it great to use at night, that also flashes, makes it safer when you have to use it at night, like by the side of the road.
And you can charge your phone using the USB charger.
The battery pack is nice and big at 7,800 milliamp hours, and it's easy to charge the pump using USB-C in the car.
It's also great for pumping basketballs and soccer balls.
So check out that link below. Makes a great gift. Dad, guess what I'm getting you for your birthday?
So what do you get when you take a 112-year-old car company and let them take a look at the quickest production car ever built, the Model S?
I don't know.
Nothing. For about 12 years, you get a crappier, watered-down version of the Model S, or at least a prototype, out of that now 124-year-old car company.
So what is this?
This is the electrified 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack.
Wait, Okay. You're telling me that Dodge had the easiest layup of naming their first EV the Charger, and that they had to add on a bunch more words? What's Scat Pack? What's up with Daytona?
Well, they're worried that people won't like it unless they add all the special words that they made up 50 years ago, which have no meaning today. But don't worry, Zach, it has supercharged V8 performance.
So not great?
But it also announces its presence through the world's first fratsonic chambered exhaust.
Wait, is that what the Scat Pack was about? All right, I'm really confused here. Do we have any stats?
Yes.
Okay.
100.5 kilowatt hour battery. The Scat Pack Stage 2 will do 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds with an estimated 11.5 second quarter mile. An estimated 317 miles of range, although the Scat Pack will reduce that to just 260 miles of range. 20 to 80% charging in just over 27 minutes.
Oh. Okay, so the 2016 Model S P100D ludicrous performance just 8 years late.
But did the Model S have a fake exhaust sound which was as loud as a real-life V8 engine?
Oh, wow. I'm sure that'll be popular. So when is this supposed to come out?
Mid-2024, so that's this year. Guess any day now.
Well, I'm glad the Mopar guys will have something to check out, as outdated as it is.
Now, I think that I should say something nice about this car, and that is that since they couldn't justify getting rid of the big front grille, even though that's what the Daytona originally actually meant, they put a fucking thing over the... Anyway, they made it into a fake grille that just carries the air up over the hood while making it look like some kind of scoop, and I think that that is pretty cool.
Well, we're going to talk about this more on PBS, so don't miss it. I just think that maybe the Dodge guys should replace the V8 sound with a...
You're really not going to want to miss this PBS. Zach hasn't seen what I'm going to show him, and you
What I
probably
haven't
haven't seen it. It's going to be hilarious. You can join us over on Patreon for $1 a month and get to check out that Patreon bonus story. You're not going to want to miss it.
Little update here on the OpenAI lawsuit that Elon's suing OpenAI with. OpenAI said, "We are dedicated to the OpenAI mission and have pursued it every step of the way. We're sharing some facts about our relationship with Elon, and we intend to move to dismiss all of his claims."
And Elon says, change your name to Closed AI, and I will drop the lawsuit.
That might be a good idea. Benjamin says emails in the OpenAI blog post essentially admit that they pretend to be open for recruiting purposes, not because it was best for humanity. Quote, "Yeah, sure, kid, we're open. You gonna sign the contract or what?" And this is a quote from their blog post. They said, "As we get closer to building AI, it will make sense to start being less open. The open in OpenAI means that everyone should benefit from the fruits of AI after it's built, but it's totally okay to not share the science, even though sharing everything is definitely the right strategy in the short and possibly medium term for recruitment purposes."
Wow. And Elon says OpenAI is living a lie.
And this is before we get to discovery in the court case. This is just what OpenAI wants to share with you. So yeah, imagine what we're going to find out. Oh, and by the way, Jesse and I are going to be in Austin, Texas during South by Southwest for the Lithium Lounge with EnergyX coming up on Friday and Saturday.
We're going to tell you more about it this week on our Patreon Investor Club bonus stories.
If you're going to be in Austin on March 15th and 16th, hopefully we can see you there. We're going to share a link with you on the Investor Club this week so that you can get in. Hope to see you there. And if you'd like to share a clip you've seen on today's show, but you don't want to share the whole hour-long episode, go to our Now You Know Clips channel on YouTube. We chop them into bite-sized pieces there. Also, you can go to X, where we chop them up as well. Next up is Ellie in Space.
Hey, Zach and Jesse, do you know what road closures, a wet dress rehearsal, and the flight termination system squad being spotted down in Starbase tell us? Yes, we are going to have the third test flight of Starship, likely this Thursday, March 14th, which is also Pi Day. We have been waiting since November for the next test flight of Starship, and for this integrated flight test, reaching orbit sounds very likely. However, we learned some information last minute that Starship's IFT-3 trajectory will now aim for the Indian Ocean, not for the Hawaiian coast like we've been told now for a very long time. Apparently, the new flight path will enable SpaceX to attempt new techniques like in-space engine burns while maximizing public safety. And SpaceX put out a press release saying the third flight test will aim to build on what they've learned from the first two flights, and they'll be attempting a number of ambitious objectives, including the successful ascent burn of both stages, opening and closing Starship's payload door, a propellant transfer demonstration during the upper stage's coast phase, the first ever relight of a Raptor engine while in space, and a controlled re-entry of Starship, with that new trajectory targeted to splash down in the Indian Ocean. So maybe your viewers can guess if the third time will actually be a charm for Starship. Do we think that Starship will reach orbit? I have high confidence that SpaceX will be able to achieve the majority of these objectives, and I think that Thursday is going to be an early day and a very exciting day. So make sure to tune into my channel, Ellie in Space, for full coverage. I will be streaming from the roof of Margaritaville to give you a great view and some great commentary.
Thanks, Ellie.
And in more space news, Elon posted Starship Flight 3 preparing for launch. Starship completed its rehearsal for launch, loading more than 10 million pounds of propellant on Starship with Super Heavy and taking the flight-like countdown to T-minus 10 seconds. And Elon reposted SpaceX's post that the third flight test of Starship could launch as soon as March 14th, pending regulatory approval.
Whoa.
Elon said, great work by the SpaceX team, and this is because 3 Falcon 9 launches in 20 hours, carrying to orbit 4 crew members heading to space station, 53 rideshare spacecraft, and 23 Starlinks. And SpaceX posted, deployment of Starlink satellites confirmed. This mission brings us above 10,000 operational space lasers for the constellation, which enables satellites to provide truly global coverage and serve those in the most remote locations on Earth.
And Elon said, frickin' lasers in space.
And Elon reposted NASA's post. NASA says we're seeking the next class of NASA astronauts. Candidates could fly on Artemis missions to the moon and eventually Mars. Will you be one of them? Applications here are open through April 2nd. Ooh,
That's exciting.
That is exciting. And Elon reposted that Dragon docked with the space station for the 5th time. Sahid Mustafa said, my school is using Starlink in Nigeria.
And Elon said, cool.
All right, it's time for Into the Future, sponsored by our friends at Henson Shaving.
If you want to pick up this amazing single blade razor that you are going to have in your family for decades and possibly centuries, you can head over to hensonshaving.com. And if you want to get a box of 100 blades for free, you can use the code NOWYOUKNOW when you check out.
You know, Henson should sponsor a dystopian future apocalyptic movie where people are like, oh, I've still got my shaver and I just need to find another razor blade.
So could this be the future of EV charging?
That's a Mack truck?
No, that's a rendering of a Mack truck, which means it's futuristic.
Okay, that's a rendering of Mack truck with what, batteries and an EV charger on the back? Please tell me that the Mack truck is at least electric.
Yes and no. That is a Mack MD electric, but those aren't batteries. Mack announced at the American Trucking Association Technology and Maintenance Council annual meeting that they have an EV charging solution. Behold!
Yeah?
A propane-powered generator and a 120 kilowatt EV charger. Ryan Saba, Energy Solutions Manager for Mack Truck, says this system will allow the customer or dealer to charge trucks, whether it's a demo or a multi-unit ride and drive event at the dealer, without having charging infrastructure readily available at their site. Mack hopes that this option will help customers more easily experience the benefits of e-mobility and a more sustainable transportation option.
You said 120 kilowatts. That's like generation 1 Tesla superchargers. I mean, I think they need to go back to the drawing board. Well, all right, look, what are the stats on the Mack MD electric truck?
The Mack MD is Mack's second electric truck. The first was their Mack LR Class 8 trash truck that has been in production since 2021. And for patrons in the future, I'm going to be building that one out of Lego. So that's fun. The MD can either be a Class 6 or a Class 7 truck and has a 240 kilowatt hour NMC battery for 230 miles of range with a 260 horsepower motor. The drivetrain comes from SEA Electric, which has tested the powertrain for 500,000 miles. The Mack MD Electric will be made in Roanoke Valley, Virginia, and Mack has the goal of making 35% of its sales electric by 2030.
Am I wrong that 260 horsepower motor is like not even as powerful as a Tesla?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so you're just moving stuff around. Who, you know.
I know. Whatever.
You know, sure, that Tesla semi-truck could beat the pants off of this, but whatever.
All right, it's time for Going Green. So, a study conducted in Italy and published last week in the New England Journal of Medicine found nanoplastics in the fatty deposits of human arteries. The people who were being studied had undergone a common surgical procedure to have the plaque removed from their arteries. The study's lead author, Dr. Raffaele Marfella, studied that plaque to see how many of the patients had nanoplastics in their removed plaque.
So nanoplastics are really, really small. They're less than a micron in size. And for perspective, a human hair is 83 microns in diameter.
And that's how these nanoplastics get into your bloodstream. You eat or drink from a plastic container, and little fragments of the plastic come along for the ride into your body. Remember, we told you about a study back in January, I think it was, that found 110,000 to 400,000 particles per liter in 3 common bottled water brands.
Okay, so how many patients had nanoplastic in their arteries?
So of the 257 patients in the study, polyethylene was found in 150 patients.
Wait, so 58% of the patients had plastic in their arteries?
And that's not even the worst part.
Oh, great.
The worst part is that when they followed up with patients 34 months later, they found that patients with plastic in their arteries had a 4.5 times higher chance of dying. That's 4.5 times higher chance of dying, whether it be from heart attack, stroke, or death from any cause.
Why?
These nanoplastics seem to act as scaffolding in the arteries, catching plaque and allowing it to build up faster and bigger.
And how much plastic was found?
The mean level of nanoplastics was 21 micrograms per milligram, so what seems like a relatively tiny amount.
Crap. So, I mean, not a lot of nanoplastic can lead to a big problem. I mean, what can we do to remove the plastic in our bodies?
Well, you know what? Let's deep dive on that on Patreon bonus stories this week. I've got 5 things you can do to pretty easily make a big difference in your health.
Please consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month over on Patreon.
All right, it's time for our video contributor stories. Remember, we need your stories. Send them in to us 2 minutes or less. Shoot them in landscape with good audio, no music. Send them to hello@nowyouknowchannel.com. What do we got this week, Jess?
KC sent us this story illustrating the utility of his Model Y.
Hey, Zach and Jesse. If anybody wondered about the versatility of the Model Y, here's a case in point. 20 bags of mulch I just picked up from Lowe's. And there's probably enough room for another 10 bags if I was really crazy. But I thought this was pretty neat. And it rode like a dream on the way home. And the regen braking worked fine, and the acceleration was no different than it normally is. That's all I got. Now you know.
Wow, KC. I mean, I have an idea for getting him out quickly. Just driving to the driveway really fast, slam on the brakes. No, that doesn't work. That goes forward.
You accelerate.
Accelerate out of the driveway.
And so, yeah, for, again, if you're a French business person and you're looking for something that could hold a lot of stuff.
Bags of flour.
Yeah, exactly. So,
honey, why is the car so dusty? All right, it's time for our Patreon bonus stories. And on Patreon this week, we've got some of the BYD Seagull. We've got the latest climate data and some shameful legacy media coverage of SpaceX that's got my blood boiling.
And we have a whole bunch of Investor Club bonus stories and much more. So head on over to patreon.com and support us for just $1 a month to get all of these Patreon bonus stories.
All right, we're back from the Patreon bonus stories. It's time for our Patreon poll this week, which was, what was it?
Will the R2 save Rivian?
Oh, yeah, and that's our disruptive investing as well. What did our Patreons think?
Nope.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
We are not financial advisors, and neither are our patrons. All right, it's time for Elon's X's of the week. Buckle up. There's a lot of them this week. So Data Hazard said, remember how Congress put in their border bill a change in original jurisdiction of immigration lawsuits to the D.C. Circuit? And Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, said, breaking huge news. Federal appeals court allows Texas immigration law to take effect.
Elon says, yep, one of the many sneaky moves in the diabolical bill that would have done the opposite of securing the border.
Elon said that Senate bill would have increased, not decreased, illegal immigration and made it almost impossible for states like Texas to challenge the law by pushing all challenges to the D.C. Circuit. The Border Patrol Union, this is actually true. This is the official union of the U.S. Border Patrol, said Biden didn't lose control of the border. He gave it away. Mike Solana said, I spent the last week interviewing employees from teams across Google expecting a story of woke lunacy. What I learned was worse. The company is an existentially vulnerable search monopoly crippled by process. It has no vision, no leadership, and no way to win the AI arms race.
And Elon said, yikes.
Mark Benioff says, AI's true gold isn't in the UI or model. They're both commodities. What breathes life into AI is the data and metadata that describes the data to the model, just like oxygen for us. The future's fortune lies in our data. Yes, data is the new gold.
Elon says vector sum of humans on team, usable compute, and unique access to data define AI competitiveness. Wow, that's a complicated sentence. He went on to say, it is remarkable how quickly we run out of human-created data, reality itself, and synthetic data for the win.
Dash says, Austin has changed so much in 10 years. Here's 2014 to 2023. This is incredible.
Elon says, boomtown.
Dalton Brewer says, remember this? Tesla sold 499,550 cars in 2020 and will sell about 20 million in 2030. Elon converts things from impossible to late.
Look at that article. Elon says, my comp for achieving this impossible goal was 0. Can you imagine not being paid for doing something like that?
Elon went on to say Google and Facebook and Instagram have a strong political bias. Hard to say if they were the deciding factor in any given election, but they certainly put their thumb on the scale. That video of Google execs holding an all-hands struggle session after Trump won was disturbing. Ian Miles Chong says this is insane. The Biden administration admits to transporting 320,000 illegal aliens on secret flights into the U.S. to reduce the number of crossings. Lawyers for its immigration agencies claim revealing the locations could create national security vulnerabilities.
And Elon says tax dollars at work. He went on to say this administration is both importing voters and creating a national security threat from unvetted illegal immigrants. It is highly probable that the groundwork is being laid for something far worse than 9/11, just a matter of time.
He went on to say, it is obvious to anyone who is not a fool that this administration is deliberately importing vast numbers of illegals. No grand conspiracy theory is needed to explain this, just simple incentives. They are far more likely to vote Democrat than Republican. This is why Dems are constantly pushing to legalize illegals and won't deport them, even when they are arrested for crime, which otherwise seem, like an opportune time. If illegals can beat up American police on camera in Times Square, be released without bail, and get rewarded with free tickets to California, what more do you need to know?
Thomas Peter says, I was on a flight out of Tucson recently, and I was the only person on the flight with the white packet they're all carrying. They even have their own line at the airport.
Elon said non-U.S. citizens without passports is a code phrase for undocumented illegal immigrants who have the special government envelope. U.S. citizens and visitors from other countries still need U.S. government-issued ID or a passport. Colin Rugg says, report, Joe Biden has secretly flown 320,000 illegal immigrants from Latin American airports to 43 U.S. cities. Treason.
Elon says treason indeed, ushering in vast numbers of illegals is why Secretary Mayorkas was impeached by the House. They are importing voters. This is why groups on the far left fight so hard to stop voter ID requirements under the absurd guise of protecting the right to vote.
Someone should download the CBP One app and make a step-by-step video of this insanity. That's a lot of planes and a lot of airports. Amazing they kept this secret for so long. Moreover, the border protection bill would have allowed Mayorkas to place new illegals on a fast track to U.S. citizenship. This fact is almost never mentioned. America will fall if it tries to absorb the world. That is why I'm banging the drum so much about this issue. All sides put out their chart of media bias ratings.
And Elon says, and some people still believe the news.
Elon said, took some Benadryl for an allergic reaction. Their marketing is spot on. And he said, maybe we're just a CSV file on an alien computer. What are the odds that this reality is base CSV?
Stephen Fleming says, yes, finally a prestigious astronomer is proposing putting an enormous telescope monolithic mirror into a SpaceX payload bay rather than unfolding like the James Webb Space Telescope origami project. I've had fights about this for years.
And Elon says it's a no-brainer. Yeah, because, it's got a 9-meter diameter. Elon said AI is Schrodinger's code.
We still don't know what happened to that cat.
Holmar's catalog says robots are already walking the streets among us.
Elon says, not sure how long that little robot will last in the wilds of New York, San Francisco, and LA.
Elon says, I'm ready to fight Zuck anywhere, anytime, with any rules. Let's go! This news headline, could the $6 billion legal fee in Musk's Tesla pay case be reasonable?
And Sawyer Merritt says no. The fee implies an hourly rate of $288,888 an hour for the work that each of the 37 lawyers, associates, and paralegals spent on this case. That's insane.
And Elon said, that's how you know the reporter really hates Tesla and or is being fed this by PR, aka propaganda company paid by the lawyers. Chris Bakke says Facebook, 162,000 engineers currently down. X, 184 engineers gathered around an open laptop that acts as our primary server, not down.
Elon says, to be fair, we do overclock the open laptop and use it for warmth.
Jimma says version 12 is going to be over 100 times reduction in interventions compared with version 11. This is not an incremental upgrade, it's a leap forward.
Elon says, thanks, that's an accurate assessment. Training compute is currently our limiting factor, but that issue is being resolved fast.
Elon says this is obvious. Incentives drive behavior. Until the loss of votes from ushering in vast numbers of illegal immigrants exceeds the likely gain of votes over time, as they are gradually legalized, the Democratic Party has a strong incentive to maximize illegal immigration. Just to be super clear, I am not donating money to either candidate for U.S. president.
Senator Marsha Blackburn says Biden's scheme to secretly fly illegal immigrants into the country and reduce numbers at the border was only revealed through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. This was a cover-up.
Elon said one of the most insane cover-ups ever. Ryan's Model Y says 7-point turn using touchscreen in the Tesla Model 3.
Elon said, and it'll keep improving via software updates.
So I guess he's not annoyed by the fact that you have to keep hitting the screen. You get used to it, I guess. San Francisco Chronicle says progressivism is out for now, and that's because they just voted in San Francisco.
And Elon says, thank goodness.
Vivek Ramaswamy says it makes absolutely no sense for the U.S. to depend on its chief adversary for its own military supplies, yet here we are. And that shows basically that all the major military supply contractors use Chinese parts.
And Elon says both the U.S. and China are extremely dependent on each other.
Ed Krasenstein says we do need to do away with the two-party system, let people vote based on individual ideas.
Elon said, yeah, politics is tribal rather than logical.
Linwood says this story collection will get you thinking about the nature of creativity, break your heart, make you laugh, and keep you awake at night. Wonderful stuff. May 21st release.
And Elon says, why is the book title in small font?
Elon said kids can be taught to believe anything. Mental firewalls are hit and miss for most adults and almost non-existent for most kids. Prince Vogelfrey says, is it ever explained in the books why House Atreides is so small? Leto doesn't have any siblings, cousins, etc. Part of the Bene Gesserit plan?
Elon says, I love Dune, but Frank Herbert, a genius writer, was obviously tripping balls writing that book. Can't expect total coherence in a situation like that. My guess is that he was high as laying on the lawn one day and saw an earthworm and thought, what if that was really big?
Farzad says, my biggest concern with the OpenAI saga is that it's painfully clear AGI will be developed and controlled by a handful of people. I don't know how to feel about this.
Elon says governments will attempt to seize power over AGI, which may be worse, but it is increasingly coming down to a choice of what company do you trust most to develop AGI.
Curiosity says, only the nerds will know what this is.
And Elon says, I have one.
What?
I have a shirt with that on it, but I don't have a gold record, sorry.
Physics and History says, is string theory really a dead end?
Elon says, sure looks like it, unless there are some testable predictions that have surfaced.
Doge Designer says, imagine election polls happening on X one day.
Elon says, for sure.
Ooh. Jason Bateman says, okay, hold up, pump the brakes. Are you telling me that Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD, and Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, are cousins? I'm sorry, what?
And Elon said, talented family.
Elon said, most Americans are still unaware that the census counts all people, including illegal immigrants, for deciding how many House seats each state gets. This results in Democratic states getting roughly 20 times more House seats, which is another strong incentive for them not to deport illegals.
BNO News says, breaking, United Airlines Boeing 777 loses tire while taking off from San Francisco, crushing cars on the ground.
And Elon says, the edges of society feel like they're fraying. Alex says, Boeing legal team. President Biden, I propose a minimum tax of 25% for billionaires, just 25%. That would raise $500 billion over the next 10 years.
Elon says, I'm fine with the minimum 25% tax. My record tax payment was roughly 50%. But as you point out, it is false of Biden to claim that 25% minimum for billionaires will solve the deficit.
God Saad says liberalism in its current form is a parasitic set of ideas, hence the greater incidence of mental illness. Ideological neuroparasitism robs you of reason, logic, joy, and individual dignity.
Elon says, I believe in liberalism in the sense of supporting freedom of thought and action, but modern liberalism is the opposite of that.
Deborah says, Elon was at the Fallout party, but please, what the fuck is that? Did anyone understand?
Elon says, junk jet weapon from Fallout. It shoots any piece of junk you find in the wasteland.
The Rabbit Hole says some of the standards films must meet to be considered for the Oscars.
Elon says, just make great movies for f***'s sake.
Rand Paul put out a poll to see if he should be the next Senate leader.
And Elon says, I would support Rand Paul and suspect that other candidates will not actually run polls out of concern for the results, but let's see if they will.
Looks like Chuck Cook has come back to being an Elon fan. He says FSD beta version 12 is being tested so hard on UPLs in my neighborhood that I just learned of a text thread of my neighbors that were starting to think that there was some sort of cult thing going on. They have a text thread talking about what is going on with all these Teslas in our neighborhood. What are they doing? Who are they? They discussed calling 911 to report the suspicious behavior. Fortunately, before that happened, one of my neighbors stopped one of the Tesla ADAS drivers and asked them what they were doing and why they were doing circles in our quiet neighborhood. The explanation was simple and avoided the 911 call. Make no mistake, Tesla AI is serious about getting FSD beta version 12 right. They are dedicating resources and time to validate the software. I want to thank everyone involved for your dedication.
Elon says, it must look pretty weird when a whole fleet of Teslas keep going through the same intersection over and over.
And Chuck Cook says, Elon, thank you for your efforts and your dedication to this mission. You are the master at lean engineering, and I say this from a perspective of working in an industry that is not lean. I'm back. Doge Designer says OpenAI last week. OpenAI is independent and directly competes with Microsoft. OpenAI today. OpenAI announces board of directors. Dr. Sue Desmond-Hellmann, former CEO of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
And Elon laughing emoji.
Brian says, Elon, can you also get Grok to report a complete voting record for incumbent congressmen? I know no one in Congress will actually support, let alone pass a bill that would make it easy for the public to see their elected officials' voting records on bills.
Elon says, sure.
Ian Miles Chong says, make this make sense.
Elon said, indeed.
Senate Cloakroom says not agreed to 45 to 51 motion to concur in the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 4366 with Hagerty Amendment 1634. So basically, not a single Democrat senator just voted for Senator Hagerty's amendment to stop illegal aliens from being counted in apportionment for congressional districts and the Electoral College.
Ethos says the fact that they refused to do anything about the border could have told you they were never going to vote for something like this. This is the whole reason behind their immigration policy.
And Elon said, exactly. He said, most Americans do not know that the U.S. Census currently counts for purposes of voting power all people in a district, regardless of citizenship. Senate Democrats just voted unanimously to defeat an amendment that would have stopped counting illegals for congressional seats, apportionment, and electoral college presidential votes. Since illegals are mostly in Democratic states, both the House and the presidential vote are shifted about 5% to the left, which is enough to change the entire balance of power. This is a major reason why the Biden administration is ushering in record levels of illegals and doing so few deportations. Because I am raising concerns about the flood of unvetted illegal immigrants overwhelming American cities, the press will often characterize me as anti-immigrant. As an immigrant myself, nothing could be further from the truth. I am very much in favor of increased and expedited legal immigration for anyone who is talented, hardworking, and honest. It is bizarrely difficult and agonizingly slow to immigrate, say, legally, but trivial and fast to enter illegally. This obviously makes no sense.
Travis said the media has masterfully removed the words legal and illegal in front of immigrant. No doubt it is in conjunction with a political party with an agenda.
Yeah, this is super deceptive, says Elon. And Elon says, coming soon, you can soon watch your favorite X long-form videos directly on your smart TVs.
Ooh.
Yeah. Christopher Stanley says, when I use TikTok, I could literally feel it programming my brain. This will become more common as AI progresses. We are easily programmed whether we like to admit it or not.
Elon said, same. I could feel the AI probing my brain. Most humans have very limited firewalls, so are easily programmed.
Alex says, Joe Biden is already backtracking and apologizing after saying he didn't regret calling illegal aliens illegals. His handlers got to him.
Elon says, undocumented makes it sound like someone just didn't fill out some form.
And then N Wokeness says, breaking, Biden apologizes for calling Laken Riley's killer an illegal. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. They built this country.
Elon says, unreal.
Aaron McIntyre says, Joe Biden was honest for 2 seconds, and now he has to go on an apology tour. Theoretically, this is the most powerful man in the world. In reality, we are ruled by the media and the revolutionary activist class.
Elon says, Biden is just a grim puppet. He spoke out of turn and was instructed to bend the knee in ignominy.
Balaji says, like everything else in Sulzberger's paper, the New York Times bestseller list is fake. They were forced to admit in court that it is not a ranked list. It's actually editorial content, and they can exclude books they don't like.
Elon said the New York Times is pure propaganda.
The Rabbit Hole says, before reading this post, were you aware that the census counts all people, including illegal immigrants, for deciding how many House seats each state gets? And I wasn't aware of that.
Elon says this is the biggest corruption of American democracy in the 21st century.
Sir Doge of the Coin says, I'm not exaggerating when I say that I think wokeness could be the most dangerous thing in the entire world right now.
CEO RE says it's the second, AI is the first.
And Elon says, until you realize that wokeness has been programmed into the AI, it is one thing to have humans push an anti-human philosophy, but quite another to have an all-powerful AI do so. And Ian Miles Strong says, Haiti has collapsed. The president is no longer in the country. The ports are officially closed. Cannibal gangs are besieging the National Palace in Port-au-Prince.
Elon says, end of days, this is bleaker than Mad Max.
And Elon said, this week, XAI will open source Grok. Oh,
Wow.
So he's becoming OpenAI.
Wow.
Good for him. All right, it's time for Community Mail Time. Community Mail Time. Remember, send your stories, your photos, and videos to us at hello@nowyouknowchannel.com.
Joe spotted this Highland Model 3 in Seattle, Washington.
Sean saw this Cybertruck driving around Sparks, Nevada.
Gustav spotted this white Highland Model 3 in Sydney, Australia.
Miranda saw this Cadillac Lyric parked outside of her work.
Travis spotted these Cybertrucks in Fresno, California.
Maybe they're coming. Oh, they're probably going west. Lua sent us a picture of his grandson, Bo, with this white wrapped Cybertruck in Santa Clarita, California.
Solomon sent us this video of the Tesla semi-truck in Carson City, Nevada.
Roger spotted this wrapped Cybertruck charging at the Quartzsite, Arizona Supercharger.
Gerald spotted this Model 3 being used by CAA, which is Canada's AAA, in Toronto, Canada.
Robert saw this Tesla Model X towing an airboat.
Ignacio spotted the new Toyota Prius in Monaco.
And Todd sent us this video of the Cybertruck at San Francisco's Lunar New Year Parade. Wow. Thank you so much for sending those in, everybody. All right, it's time for our Supercharger review, so let's see what we got out there in the world.
Hello, Zach and Jesse. We are at the 8-stall Supercharger in Lincoln, New Brunswick. It's located in a truck stop and gas station. This location has pretty much everything that you would want. They also have free Wi-Fi. The restaurant is awesome. Think of it as a New Brunswick version of a Cracker Barrel. They also serve Impossible Burger, all-day breakfast, and they have vegan options.
Hey, Zach and Jesse, this is Ronnie down in Silva, North Carolina, the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains and the Great Smoky Mountains. And we have 8 Tesla chargers right here in town, the first ones we've ever seen in this area. Kind of rural, but as you look around, there's nice spaces. You have a car wash, free vacuum, and if you get hungry as you're charging, you go over here to DQ Grill and Chill and a little convenience store, and Highway 107 is right over here. And now you know.
Hi, Zach and Jesse. This is Mark coming to you from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, right across from Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. This is a 8-stall Tesla Supercharger in a Meijer parking lot. It's 250 kilowatts. There are restaurants up and down the road right in front of Meijer here, but at this Meijer you also have a Starbucks inside. It's a nice stop if you're on your way to Canada, or if you're way to this Soo Locks, which is a big tourist destination. But I would give this, for its amenities and for how quick the charger is, a 6 out of 10. Now you know.
Hi, Zach and Jesse, Jay and Kaz Oswald at the almost brand new 16-stall version 3 Supercharger in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This thing just opened a month or so ago, and it's very convenient because Albuquerque didn't have great charging. Around us we have the Albuquerque Uptown Mall. It's about a quarter mile off of I-40. There's not much to go around as far as bathrooms are concerned. There is a hotel behind us called the Homewood Suites, and I don't know if they will let you in there, but it's worth a try. There's lots of places to eat in this mall, and there's a good gelato shop. So, All in all, I would give this maybe a 7 out of 10. Now you know. Back to you, Zach and Jesse.
I've often wondered, for people who live in cities that are on borders like that, like, do they just have no problem going across the border all the time? Like, they just, or do they not do it? Comment down below if you live in one of those cities. Is it just like no big deal, or do you just stay in your country? Oh, and remember, if you want to put your reviews of superchargers, go to our website, nowyouknowchannel.com. We've got a cool map on there. It's really easy to do, and we love to share them here on Tesla Time News. All right, so what do we got for new superchargers, Jess?
Well, we don't have a lot of Chinese superchargers this week because of Chinese New Year. I think there's usually a delay. Expect in the coming weeks for there to be an onslaught. But we have number 82 in Italy, the 6 stall in Bressanone, Italy.
We have the 8 stall in Athens, Texas.
The 8 stall at Schwandorf, Germany.
We have the 4 stall 150 kilowatt in Oita, Japan.
We have the 4 stall 120 kilowatt in Wenzhou in China.
We have number 1996 in China, the 6 stall in Wenzhou at the Ruin Tesla Center.
Number 435 in California is the 32 stall in Garden Grove, California.
Number 158 in Texas is the 12 stall in Brenham.
Number 161 in South Korea is the 8 stall in Gyeongju, South Korea.
We have number 22 in New Zealand, the 6 stall in Taihape, New Zealand.
And number 195 in Germany, number 1,167 in Europe, and 6,149 in the world is the 4 stall in Köln at the Bonn Airport in Germany.
And remember that we're going to be at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas on Friday and Saturday at the Lithium Lounge with EnergyX. We would love to hang out with you guys, so please join us. If you want to know where that is, head on over to Patreon right now, and we're going to talk about that on Investor Club, give you guys a link because it's a special invite and we can't let everyone in. So we'd love to have you there. This might be good. If you're looking for a reason to join our Patreon, this might be it, right? Also, I think at that event, Jesse, is going to be a Hummer EV all decked out in EnergyX logos and stuff. That should be really fun. And I hear that our buddy Sandy Monroe is going to be there as well. So we're going to be hanging out with him, doing a lot of fun stuff. Can't wait to see you guys there. Hopefully we'll have some nice weather.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you want to just take a moment, comment down below what was, something that you enjoyed about the show. I'd love to hear it, because sometimes, I don't know, I'm doing parts of the show. I'm like, does anybody like these parts of the show? And I do want to also just take a moment to thank our patrons. These are the people who help support this show. They're scrolling past here because we really want to give them the shout out for helping to support the work that we do here on this show every single week. And we have done for 392 weeks in a freaking row. I'm feeling pretty good about that because that's a lot of weeks.
That's a lot of weeks.
Closing in on 400 weeks in a row, which I didn't think was actually possible. I didn't know how many weeks were
in a lifetime.
And it's a lot. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Now you know.